ALS Operating Authority renewals and requests. I have a list of them. And can you take a look from there?
Yep, so the first one on the list is Lamoille.
We have the, and have you received any
Yes,
something from Dr. Wiseman about Lamoille?
no, I have not, and I'm not sure if Travis or Zach have.
I think that one was in the meeting folder. I
Yeah,
believe.
we send it.
So it should have been a forwarded one, but that from the medical director.
Okay.
The one, I do believe the ones on the list, we had the paperwork for with the medical director's signatures.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's how it.
Super duper. So as long as everything was received correctly, I think that we can go ahead and approve that one. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's go through all of them. And unless there's a bump in the road, we can approve them all together. Is that okay?
Yeah, and Lamoille, I have Lamoille, we're good.
Okay. Who's next?
So I have Rockwell Falls and Lutheran. I'm gonna pronounce these wrong.
Like, is there any
Yeah.
other-
That's
So
fine.
I
That's my
apologize.
agency. So there, yeah, it's Rockwell Falls, operates out of Luzerne, a well-run company. They've all paid providers and does well. I've got no problems, so we can go ahead and approve them if everybody's comfortable with that.
Right, the next one is Wilmington.
Mike, you gotta hit your mic. Hit your mic.
Oh, sorry. It's Michael Pond. Sorry about that. It's the third time I've done it now. I'm very happy with Wilmington. I've saw the paperwork. I've got no issues whatsoever with them.
The next one is North Queensbury EMS.
So I'm technically the medical director for them, but they've recently moved on from their staffing company E3, and they've merged with Bay Ridge. Prior to that merge, I was fine with all their as they were operating. I've reached out to their president back in April, and I haven't heard back as to who they're going to continue with medical direction. So at the moment, I'm hesitant to put my name on there because I don't know who they're going forward with in the future. So nobody from Bay Ridge, or sorry, so nobody from North Queensbury has reached out to me. So I haven't heard back from them regarding that. So
And they are merging into Bay Ridge. So I think that, I don't think they're going to continue to be a separate entity. So I think they're going to be what it is. So they're going to go through Bay Ridge for everything. So if your Bay Ridge is medical director, then it's kind of absorbing it.
so that's Dr. Gerling then. So
Right. So if it falls and when it falls, I don't know exactly what the specific date that's happening, right? So when that actually happens, they'll presumably be under my wing. We've got to look at all the details. But if that hasn't happened, then I guess at the moment, technically, they're North Queensbury up for renewal until that happens. So I guess, Tom, at the moment, they're still with you, but I'm not sure where they're functionally, whether they're even operational at the moment. So we're in this sort of gray zone right now. But when they come over to Bay Ridge, they'll be under me, and that's okay.
Bay Ridge is running their operation currently right now. All the operation stuff is coming through Bay Ridge.
Okay. But they've still got North Queensbury as a separate entity then?
They do, yes.
Okay.
I'm looking at the North Queensbury application for EMS Agency Advanced Life Support Operating Authority, Medical Director, and it says Gerling, and there's a signature.
Whose signature is there?
I don't know. It's sort of squiggly. It looks like it could be girly.
Okay, it could be anybody. It's open for debate. Hey, I tell you what, why don't we just do it? Why don't we do a temporary renewal on them until we get the system confirmed and underway, since this is a whole new paradigm for them, for Bay, and for everybody. So why don't we do either a 6-month or a 1 year, just so we get, just until things are more secure.
Or we do a 6-month, and that gives
Okay.
you a time to get numbers.
Perfect.
Yeah, I don't know if this is, like my signature, which is also unintelligible. This one is, so if you have an
It's
unintelligible.
definitely Tom's.
Mine's
That'll
very,
give me,
very legible.
that'll give me time to figure out what's going
Yeah,
on with them
right.
and
Yeah.
have more information.
Shake that.
Sounds good.
All right, who's next?
Dart.
Art. Interesting, and that would probably be Ryan Closer, who's not here.
I believe so.
It's Clouser and I am here.
You are here.
But I don't
Yeah,
represent DART though. I'm with HealthNet.
I know, but
So
I
my-
do know.
I think it's a
So
merge,
Dart.
it's a merge between the two of them, Healthnet and Dart
Yep.
together.
Yes.
I can,
So there's a medical director form from Dr. Clouser, and also Dr. Tamarco. But I'm
Yeah, I don't-
assuming that it's because Dr. Clouser may be on our board. For that,
Sorry, I can't hear anything you're saying. What are you asking for?
So, Ryan, it does look like you stamped their paperwork for DART.
Yeah, I submitted a form. They just asked for it a couple days ago. I just got that back to them. I don't know if you've received it from Tramarco, but we're co-directors together.
Okay, beautiful.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry to interrupt, but, I just talked to somebody from Bay Ridge, Ashley, she's actually on the call right now, but their merge is planned for January 1. So there'll be one agency, Bay Ridge, that's January.
Were you able to hear her?
So what's then, it's August, so that'll 6 months will bring it through. So it's. Okay. I don't know that we've ever done an agency approval for DART. I don't see any issue with it. Any discussion about that? No docs?
I mean, I think we did something similar with when Johnsburg took over Minerva's staffing. So we had precedent up there because I used to have Minerva as well, and we sort of merged those two agencies.
So this one and also back, like Allen Coordinated Transport, they're both ones that are like not really in New York, but we do their New York REMAC credentialing stuff for. And Fletcher Allen should be coming down the line very soon, in the next couple of months, I think, also. But I do think we have done this one before in the past.
Yeah, we have, we've done everything.
as I say, they just submitted all their renewal stuff to the state, I'm looking at it and everything. Together.
Brian, you have any qualms about saying that DART is okay?
No, I think everything's great. And it's not FACT anymore. It's UVM HealthNet Transport. Just you guys, I think you all know that. But we should have everything you need, right?
They're not, doing anything too crazy down there at DART that we should be concerned
No.
about.
No, not to my
Shouldn't let them,
knowledge.
stop flying our patients and not putting straws in people's eyes or something like that.
Right.
Seems like they're on the level.
So we did
And
have
sorry,
one.
this
Oh, go ahead.
is Mike Conti speaking. I guess to be clear about the two different programs. So the helicopter out of Burlington, Vermont is a DART licensed air medical transport. They are licensed both New York and Vermont. And the background behind that is that we utilize DART for their operations. So it's under their service license. However, the staffing comes out of the UVM Health Network. And so we have a contract to provide staffing. So the license itself is under Dartmouth for the air side of it. And then on the ground side, that's where we have the separate license with New York State, which is the old FACT and now HealthNet.
And just, this is actually something Mike and I have talked about in the past, but since this is a nice public forum, for the public education note, both the helicopter, the HealthNet helicopter and the DART helicopter, my understanding are available for scene work even across in New York State if the need arises. So that's something just handy for everybody to know. Is that correct, Mike?
That's correct.
Okay.
And there was one addition, which was Mariah.
Dr. Weissman is our medical director. She's not here, but the paperwork's been submitted to the state. We have the new operating licensing, substance license from the state.
And other paperwork came in today.
Is that all of them? I think.
That is all that I have on the list.
Excellent. I'd like to make a motion to approve all of those agency ALS operating authority renewals.
I'll second that. That's Doug Gerling.
Any discussion?
Just confirming they're all 2 months except for the 1 6 month that we're doing for
2 years.
2 years.
Sorry,
Yes.
sorry.
Wow, 2 months.
I was like, whoa.
We are rough around here.
Serious.
The 2 years and 6 months
Okay.
for North Queensborough. Okay.
So what may work a little bit better for the voting purposes is, since we have a seconded motion, I would ask, is there anybody that abstains? Anybody that objects? Hearing none, we're going to assume that the motion passes.
What's next? Field reports. Mary Remo.
Just everyone needs to be cognizant of the state website because multiple new policies have come out. Sharing with the agencies. For factor purposes, and that's about it. The other thing is controlled substances. If you're using the old form, the correct form to use is 3848 for your semi-annual reports. If you send me fentanyl reports, I send them back to you. Ketamine reports, I send them back to you. Your agency just got theirs back. But they're not, they're refusing, B&E is refusing to take the old forms and they're sending out nasty, emails, friendly emails to agencies telling them such.
And actually, the new form's easier to use, because everything's on the one sheet.
One page.
One signature, you don't need nearly as much.
My agency got their act together and applied for something. That's awesome.
They didn't apply for something, their controlled substance paperwork was on the form that
Oh,
went out 2
They're
years ago.
old controlled substances and they're old controlled substances. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
The other thing is we need to remind people to be cognizant of their expiration dates. Getting in applications at the last minute and controlled substance paperwork at the last minute has caused many a headache for both the providers and for us. So if you ask 30 days in advance at least. That's it for me.
Great, Mary, thank you. Education reports. No, yeah, this is.
We had a family emergency.
I can, speak to what we did today.
Oh, beautiful, thanks.
You go through each one during this meeting or do it as a whole?
A lot of times we do each one.
Okay.
But I
I'm
can
just
do-
curious.
It's at the plan, so just give me a second.
So how about Clinton Community College while Patty's looking?
Go, go.
So we're continuing with our normal schedule of classes. We're finishing a basic EMG on the 13th. They take their final practical exam, and then we'll test. There are 15 students left in that class. We lost one for our non-attendance. And then we will start up in August with our basic and September with our advanced EMG. And then we have to look at the schedule for a paramedic refresher to see if we need to run one for the group who have finished the bridge program. I think we are on our 3rd year. So we will be looking to do some kind, if we're not going to do CME, then we'll need to do a full refresher course or challenge refresher, I guess. What we'll do. That's the plan. So that's what our schedule looks like per person.
Just real quick, kind of housekeeping thing. If you are here as a guest, can you put your name in the chat so we can capture you for attendance? So. Is Bruce Berry on? I have like +11 that I can't see the names.
I am in.
Can you give us any siege paramedic report, please?
Yep, absolutely. So Elizabethtown Community Hospital, we've just started our 4th paramedic class. We currently have 17 students. We began with 20, but we lost 3 in the first couple weeks because they realized they were in over their heads. So we got 17 that look like they're going to be pretty solid candidates. With that, we also have 4 instructors that we are developing that are going through their CIC internship process right now. Our classrooms currently in the Queensbury Mountain Lakes office, Lewis at the Public Safety Building, and Potsdam at the Potsdam Rescue still are going strong. We did just finish our first cycle for the COAMPS accreditation process. We are still moving forward with that process. We have till the end of January to submit our initial self-study report and schedule our site visit, which we actually intend on doing that this fall and not waiting until January. And hopefully at that point, we'll get our full KHAP accreditation. Other than that, that's about it at this point.
Thanks, Bruce. Scott Harwood, are you on?
Yeah, how's it going?
Excellent.
Good to see you, Tiff. For Al side, just a normal course offering. They're going to run their normal evening basic course starting in the fall. They're just wrapping up with a few students. For North Country, which is a new course sponsorship, we have full EMT courses in Malone and Saranac Lake. For fall, we'll be doing AEMT in the spring. It looks like we'll have full classes as well at both locations, and a summer course in Saranac Lake. And then we hope to be meeting with Bryce, who I know is in the room, next Monday to talk about some additional offerings in Essex County, and we're very pleased to have that online. We're pleased, and we'll thank Dr. St. Jean, who's on the line, who's been supportive and helpful with that project.
Awesome, thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Patty, did you want to fill in?
So, we have an educational meeting today at noon, lasted just about until 2. One of the things we talked about was upcoming courses in the Mountain Lakes region, and that was spoken about. Also, the AHA, Mountain Lakes has made a few of the sites, card sites, where they can get their own AHA cards printed out. It'll help cut down on the admin for the ed work. Also, just to remind everybody that paperwork, including for AHA, needs to be sent to paperwork@mountainlakesems.org, and not to other email addresses. And that will help expedite, things getting done. Mary said, I just reiterated what Mary said. Talked about the mandatories. The classroom at this point in the Mountain Lakes office will continue. We will be coming up with a plan for the fall courses and for the ed work. Excuse me. So one of the problems is we're not running enough courses or not running enough courses with enough people in them. Then the ed corp can't pay their bills. So there has to be that fine balance. So a couple of things are going to happen. Mickey is going to continue to speak with the ACC for courses in the southern region. We're going to have an instructor meeting to encourage instructors to submit applications for October for the January year. So obviously, if somebody's going to do a course for the fall, we need to see that sooner than later. And we're going to Storm, Travis, and Mickey are going to work on a budget for the Ed Corp to see, you know, what is the line in the sand type of thing to make us at least breaking even. Also, there was a spreadsheet passed around where there's tons of money that has not been paid from different agencies and different organizations. So we're going to see if that can be cleaned up by making sure one it's been paid or not been paid, and then if not been paid, a notice or an invoice sent out to them. I think that was that.
Doug Wildermuth, I noticed you were on. Are you still there? There he is. Hey, can you talk to us about the Clarkson program?
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everybody, and nice to see everybody again, just from a different side of the state. So my name is Doug Wildermuth. I'm the new course sponsor over at Clarkson University. Started here in March and came into a wonderfully collaborated effort by my predecessors, one of them being Ann, that developed a wonderful program over here. So this year they've run 2 EMT programs this spring. We're running a summertime program right now, and then we have 2 EMT programs lined up for this fall to try and equal our goal of 100 EMTs trained this year. We're also going to go ahead and start putting in some sort of notification to the state within the next month in regards to an AEMT program we'd like to begin in the spring, and that's kind of where we sit for right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
QA reports. Glens Falls. I'm sort of frozen here. He's trying to talk to us.
What was that? I think things froze.
Yes.
There you go. I think you usually tell us about the Glens Falls QA. Is that you?
Oh yeah, not a whole lot. Generally try to take off the summer months, so no major QA issues at the moment.
ECH, does somebody have a ECH report?
Is Bruce on?
Bruce doesn't usually do the QA in there.
He may, I think it falls under.
Bruce,
Bruce, you're on the hook.
do you have a QA report from ECH or know who would? We may have lost him. If you're talking, Bruce, you're on mute. We can check on that later.
All right, moving on. Somebody have a report from Alice Hyde? Dr. St. John?
I can report quickly, but yeah, we've been meeting regularly with Dr. St. Jean, more regularly than ever in the past, and seem to be making a lot of progress.
Good.
Hutton County group.
So we haven't met in, I think, 3 months. We kind of put things on hold for the summer. And then we'll pick up in September and start again. We've had a couple of issues, most of which have been resolved. We still have a couple that we're still working on. So when we get those resolved, we'll share them with the rest of the group, because I think there's some educational components to a couple of them.
All right. In North Country.
Yeah, we've continued to meet monthly. I guess we're gonna take this month off, but just been going through some good cases, some cardiac and trauma, because hey, it's summer. But no major issues, and everything's going well. Good attendance.
And just a reminder, since it's in my head, after this meeting, we are going to do education on refusing medical advice. So if any of the REMAC docs wants to stay and contribute to that, that would be awesome. If you can't, I totally get it. I just English you. But for anybody else that's on, if you'd like to stay, I think we'll have a good talk. All right, data informatics, Zach.
I don't have much. If you guys have anything specific you want studied or evaluated PCR data wise, let me know and we can pull that. Otherwise, I'll start to send out stuff to the county for their agencies and the agencies and stuff, but nothing really new.
I have one. Do you want to, since I'm taking advantage of you here, my friend, I'd like to know how much IV crystalloid is being given to trauma patients. How many poor little clotting factors are we scaring out of their homes?
So we do collect some of that data in the trauma registry, Dr. Bombard. So patients that are transported here, that are admitted or transferred out from here, we do capture, or if they're trauma activations, we do capture. The way the registry is set up, we capture less than 500 mLs, and then it goes up by like 500 to 1,000, 1,000 to 2,000. But I could pull what we have for trauma data here.
Well, I know where to find you.
So
I'll hunt you down.
So we just recently did a trauma QA/QI poll in the North Country, and what we found was actually a problem with our documented data. So don't get alarmed if you see a lot of them just immediately getting 1,000 milliliters of normal saline without first reading the chart, because instead of the amount given, they're documenting the size bag that they hung, which was 1,000 milliliters. So just sorry, but these are how we're learning, so we can get education back out to agencies to say, you need to document how much fluid you're giving, not the size bag that you hung. So
the majority of what I see, what I see recorded is either they just say IV saline hung, IV fluids hung, or they narrate the field. They put it in the narrative how much they've infused. If there was a place that's consistent in all of the pre-hospital EMRs where they could or were forced to document volume infused, that would really, really help in this data point collection, because there are numerous charts where patients receive fluids. They just don't document it.
You see where I'm going with this.
Oh, for sure. The EMRs are very, very difficult to read, let alone capture data fields from.
There's a movement at the CMAC to try and get blood products into the field. This is something that I've given you guys a heads up about in the past. And I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow, but it's good for us to know that that's something that's getting pushed forward. In the meantime, our protocols read that 2 liters of saline should be given to trauma patients for resuscitating blood pressures below, I think it's 90 now is what's in the protocol. And that seems like a lot to me. And if that's indeed what we're seeing out there, then I think that's something that we should probably all discuss. And if we don't know if it's, if we don't know the amount of crystal that's being given, that's also something we should discuss and see if we can find out. Because that seems like a flaw in the protocols to me. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to bring it to you for a discussion on correction if nobody's giving this stuff anyway.
I rarely see over 1,000 given.
But
Rarely.
we don't know, Tammy, is the problem.
Correct. There are
So we
some,
don't know
but
what we don't know. So let's. see if we
you're
can
right.
find out
Good
what we
point.
don't know. Okay. All right. Tangent over. TMAC report. There is none. We didn't have it. Old business. Does anybody have discussion of the MOO app or the pandemic triage protocol? Because if not, I think we can go by those. I don't think there are any changes. Anybody? I have a couple of new business items.
You had a different agenda than
Am I missing stuff?
I am. No, there's more stuff, but that's okay.
Stop me.
No,
Stop me,
you're
'cause I'll
fine.
keep rolling, darling.
Keep going.
You do, and I told her that. Did I not tell her to watch me?
There goes Ben's eyeball.
Well, we're already, see. We're already on to new business, so we should probably stop and fix whatever. I
Well,
thought.
we need to talk about protocol changes.
Excellent, that's under new,
TXA,
then those are the new business
Okay.
items.
and the Malone Northern IFT.
Excellent.
So,
I wasn't too bad.
no, you weren't. I don't.
So two interesting things under new business. The first one pertains mostly to Dr. and can you just say your name for me so I stop butchering it? Dr. St. Jean or Emmanuel, tell me your last name. Help me. He's gone? No. Oh, not helpful. Because this is really all about him. Ann's trying to.
St. Jean.
Is it?
He's still on
We
there.
all say it differently and then I feel like we're all doing it.
He's still on there.
Are you still there? You look like you're still there. All right, let's table him for a minute and we'll do the other one, which is the new protocols, and then maybe we can get some sound from them. Two new protocols are here. One is tranexamic acid. The other one is epistaxis. The epistaxis is mostly centered about the use of Afrin, which I'm not going to try and give you the generic of because I'll just keep it up.
I spelled it wrong in the protocol.
It's spelled wrong in the protocol. Oh, no, Ann. It's awesome. TXA, Ann, you've been sort of abreast of this change. There's some question as to whether we have to have agency medical director approval of TXA for each agency or not.
Yeah, some regions are requiring, whether the agency notify the REMAC of it or not, making it an optional drug. One of the things some of the regions look at is does every ALS agency need to take on that expense? So making it optional allows those agencies, based on their call types and locations, et cetera, to make the decision whether they need to carry TXA or not. Whether it would be beneficial or not, and then they would notify the REMAC, just that with a service medical director agreement. Number one, that makes us understand as a system who's carrying it and who is not. Secondly, there was discussion surrounding, these are critically injured patients who are receiving this. A lot of times they're being handed off to air medical, or even at the handoff when you get to the trauma centers, sometimes that fact that they got TXA gets missed in the discussions, that transfer of care, and that they've ordered like bracelets that say TXA administration that can be given to those agencies upon notification. So if they do administer that to a patient, they can get this bright fluorescent green bracelet put on the patient that's going to stay with them so that as their continuum of care goes, everybody knows that they got the TXA. So those are some of the discussions. So we do have agencies reaching out to the office to see whether it's, you know, an option or what the process is that you want to do, or just say, no, you know, whatever you guys want.
I'd like to open the floor to the room for discussion.
Yeah, ring
See how you guys feel about this. And then make motions. Okay. So.
I mean, I will say something. So I think it's a great idea to bring it. We should. I mean, any meds given should be confirmed in handoff. I think it's a little crazy if we start getting into bracelets. It's not like it's a life and death med that if they get an extra dose, they're going to suddenly die. I mean, I think we need to have good handoffs, but that's going to open the door to a very slippery slope if we're expecting that based on one med given. I don't know if there's a strong counter argument for it, but yeah, I think where do we draw the line for, oh, are we going to have a bracelet for every med we administer?
Yeah, I see that. The only thing I think is knowing in the hospital who to give the infusion to, because they get the bolus, they may not get the infusion on scene. So if you're gonna, you know, if you lose that continuity, if somebody forgets to say, you know, medications, and granted, we all expect that to happen. We all expect people to give good reports, but, you know, I think this is one scenario where, you know, if they just have something on there that says, hey, they got the bolus, consider the infusion when they get to the hospital. I think that might be the only reason to have a bracelet.
We could make the same argument about amiodarone for that matter, you know, so.
Yeah, that was my point. I mean, there's
Right.
lots of critical medications we give.
Exactly.
Where do you
Yep.
draw the line?
Yep, I think, you know, if you're going to be giving complex medications, you need to be able to provide a thorough handoff and sign off on the meds you've given to the nurse or the doc that you're handing off the patient to. I think that's part of a good report. If there's concerns about that not being done, you're probably not an agency that should be doing it.
I think one of the other challenges is when you're handing off to air medical and then air medical to the trauma center. And that's where I think there's some fear of maybe something getting lost in the transition. Definitely not intentionally, but that's where it kind of generated from, was just that when you have to do multiple handoff, it's not like, you know.
I don't know. I mean, amiodarone, lidocaine, magnesium, there's so many medications that you wouldn't necessarily want to give another dose of if it was already given pre-hospital that are in our toolbox. It just seems like we're treading on very gray ground for a medicine that has some proven benefit, isn't particularly dangerous, and you know, in comparison to other things that we're able to give.
Anybody else want to speak to the bracelets, no bracelets?
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, I think like the only reason we're choosing bracelets is because it's new. It really doesn't have any other valid reason to put a bracelet on, right? Just as Dr. Katz is saying, I mean, we use medications with far more concerning effects or side effects or complications than TXA, and we don't use a bracelet. So I think, you know, this sets the stage for any time we bring a new medication in that we need some new bracelet or some new, it's just another medication, guys. Let's do it the same way we do all our other medications, and we don't need to put anything additional on it.
Because then what happens if somebody forgets the bracelet? We're right back to where we were before.
Oh, you're right, exactly. Or, yeah, yeah.
Get it right. If they take away my birthday, I'd forget the bracelet on purpose. There you go. Okay.
So I think the bigger is this just agencies can put it on then if they want it? Or is there going to be a REMAC notification that they're putting it on? Is it a mandatory or an optional med, I guess?
I think it's got to be consistent. You know, we either do or we don't, because there's going to be confusion on receiving hospitals and, you know, LifeNet or ALS Intercepts or whoever, whether there's a bracelet or not, if they got it or not. Like, I think it just needs to be one or the other.
It's also dirt cheap. This is not an expensive medication.
Is it cheap? Yeah, I don't know the price or the costing structure of it or the availability. Yeah. Okay.
I guess it's in relative what you consider cheap. I think I looked it up. I mean, in comparison to many other meds such as glucagon, yes, it is cheap. But I think it's like 70 or 80 bucks. And if you stop to consider ambulance, you know, if there's multiple ambulances, it can become a larger expense for an EMS agency. But
And it's just kept at room temperature, right?
And any worse than albuterol,
yeah.
inhalers.
Yeah.
For $70. Or are they? Yeah. Any other price, the other, you know how much? Yeah, with a spacer, it's 70.
Spacers are pricey.
With spacers,
Yeah.
very fun.
Well, albuterol works. TXA is, you know, it's, so it's a cost benefit ratio. So I'm glad that it's cheap. Certainly if it was expensive, that'd be a whole different ballgame. But, you know, it's not a high efficacy medication either. So, you know, that's the other side of things.
All right, would somebody like to make a motion on the bracelets?
I don't know that. we need
I'll make a motion, no bracelets.
That's fine.
Second,
I second.
any more discussion? Right,
How about is the
all in
drug?
favor of no bracelets?
Aye.
Anybody abstain?
Any abstaining?
Anybody objects and wants the bracelets? There you go.
Okay, the bracelets it is. The other
There's none.
question about TXA is, do we need to have agency medical director approval? Or not? Or do we just let this protocol roll out?
One of the things that I noted based on the state's update is they're actually putting a medication out there that there's been very little education on for the providers, or if there was, it was so long ago when they took their class that they may not remember it. So we are currently working on, our office is currently working on an education program to roll out for it.
I think Remo has some education out, or no?
And this is Andy Teague. I have a 1-hour PowerPoint already queued up. Tiff, you've seen it already. If you want it, I'll give it to you.
Okay.
Perfect. Do you think you could talk faster and make it half an hour? Just noting our attention span. So, no answer from Steve. Okay, 1 hour PowerPoint coming to end.
Sorry, we'll condense it and put it out.
No strong opinions about about needing to have an agency medical director for TXA, one way or the other, it sounds like.
I think that we should make it available region-wide. I think most trauma centers are using it. If you're gonna subscribe to it, it's better if given early. My 2 cents.
Yeah.
I don't feel strongly that each agency medical director has to approve this unless you guys do it.
No, I think that each agency should be notified. The medical director should know that the agency is doing it, but I don't think it requires them to give their blessing before starting it.
How do we do that? I think that's just a communication from the REMAC, right?
Well, yeah, we can just let them know to make sure you let your medical director know.
We need to vote on
Yeah.
that.
That sounds reasonable.
Ann says we don't need to vote on
I
that.
don't think so.
I
It just,
like it.
I just think we're putting out the communication
Okay.
that they should let their,
Please let your agency medical director know what you're doing. Thank you.
We could get that education piece.
And is the final word, sorry. And just to clarify then, it's going to be optional for our agencies to carry it?
It's part of the protocols.
Okay.
I think, anything in the protocol is optional, I suppose. But
Well,
yeah, it's,
so some medications, I mean, for the most part, ALS agencies should have all the medications available to be able to carry out the care needed based on each and every protocol, unless it's kind of like that trained and equipped, but then there are some medications that can be on the ambulances that are optional.
like, what else would be an optional one? I'm not.
So
What's the cost of it? What's the cost of it?
$11.19 a vial.
Right.
Can't say.
$11.19.
No,
$11.19 a vial.
a vial, I thought the
Portal's an optional.
like Toradol.
That's not the boundary price. They didn't bid it because it wasn't for the most.
I think pre-mixed is more.
Yeah, that's the public bid price.
So one of the things that sounds like there may be benefit in having a minimum equipment list that may even be helpful for your agencies. So if you have changes in administration, I can work on that and have something to present before the next meeting.
That'd be great.
Okay, great.
That actually takes care of a piece of new business.
All right.
And then that gives you something to work off as you move forward, so.
Okay, thank you.
No, because I am unable to get my hands on a state formulary. And the collaborative protocols did not add the 2 new medications into the formulary on the collaborative meds. But Mary, if you could get me that state formulary, I would absolutely share it with them. Did you see that?
I did see that, but I don't think it was on camera, so she's good.
So again,
And Dr. St. Jean, are you there or not there? Because you're on our list, but.
I'm here.
Yay, excellent. One last thing, unless there's something else that I'm missing.
I got a couple other things under new business.
So a couple of meetings ago, we talked about some expanded scope medications for Malone EMS for transports. And we didn't have a vote on approving this, but we discussed them and I can't remember. Zach, what were they? Help me out.
Oh, I don't have the list of them, but basically, we administer medications on interfacility transport if given by the hospital. And then the recommendation that says here, recommendation to document all the training.
So
There were 4 or 5 medications. And I think you really brought this to us and we said, well, really sort of your sandbox over there and you'll do as you do. I don't think anybody had any objections to it. But Ann and I were talking before this meeting, and the reason that we got talking about this was because Northern would like to also have those expanded scope medications. Ann pointed out that really this becomes a decision of the agency medical director, not the REMAC. It's nice to let us know, but we don't decide that level of stuff. That is a liability and a decision that's based on the agency decision and the agency medical director, not the REMAC. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Great. So that's a discussion that I'm going to give back to you to take back to both Malone and Northern to work out down there at your end. And we can certainly help if you want. If you want a bunch of people to talk with it about, we're happy to help with you there, but we don't end up taking on that liability for you. That's an agency medical director and an agency level.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. All right, anything else for new business?
So I do just want to talk about, first and foremost, I'm really looking forward to working with all of you. I got to figure out kind of how your process works. I'm learning the agencies, I'm learning the hospitals. So I've had some interaction with them years ago when I worked with Air Methods as a business development manager. So I do hope to get out to your facility and meet some of you folks. We also do a quality assurance, quality improvement corner that we post on our website. So if there's something specific that you want looked at, we can do that too. Like we currently just did one on trauma scene times, which does discuss education surrounded fluid administration. You know, so basically, as soon as we start pulling data on one thing, we find 1,600 other things to look at or educate on. So we talk about the trauma triad of death. So, and throw out some evidence-based medicine and kind of what the expectations of care are pre-hospitally for a trauma patient. So those are projects that we'll be able to work on actually a little more as we have a clinical coordinator that will be starting with our office on the 8th of this month. So look forward to having her at our next meeting. So you have an opportunity to meet her. Also, please feel free to reach out to me if I can assist you in any way on the QA/QI side. And one of the other things that we're going to be looking at doing, which is very helpful, is getting all the providers registered in our CME system. So that once they're registered in there, we can talk about how we, and that's more of just a process that I could talk to Tiff about how we collect that continuing medical education. And I'll have something together for the next meeting, but just to keep in mind, I'd like to see a reciprocal agreement between our region and North Country region. So our providers can cross back and forth without having to do CMEs in both regions. Currently, North Country has that with Susquehanna, or excuse me, not Susquehanna, they don't border. Central New York and mid-state, and I'd love to see it kind of expand around. So that'll be something that'll be forthcoming. Do you have one with Remo?
Where they can cross and they don't have to do some.
I think the paperwork. Was one of the medical.
So we've done it with one.
Right, I know I had submitted something a while ago to Mountain Lakes from North Country and it just never came to fruition. So now that I'm sitting here too, I'm hoping to make it come to fruition. Plus also, thank you for that information so I can learn about the one with Remo because I wasn't aware of that, but that's good to know.
That's for online status. So basically it's just paperwork. They don't have to do another internship or anything.
So.
And could you put your contact information in the chat?
I
so
can.
that everybody can grab it.
I can.
And does anybody have anything else?
Tiff, I ran a quick report while we were sitting here. Just January through June of trauma patients in our registry. Out of 77 trauma patients that had some IV fluids, we had 64, total of 64 that received less than 500 mLs. We had 9 that had the fluid amount not documented, and we had 3 that received between 500 and 2,000 mLs.
Anyway, stay tuned. Let's see if we can fix our documentation a little bit so we see where we stand.
If you want me to retrospectively go back over the last year or 2 years, I'm happy to do that too.
I'm not sure, honestly, Tammy, if it helps until we can fix the documentation to give us real numbers, right? Like somewhere between 500 and 2,000 is a long way. And if that's really, they're all 500, then great. But if it's really, they're all, 1,500 or 2,000, then we need to talk about pushing the CMAC to change that protocol, because that's not.
So
So
I can,
see where
so
we
it may
land. Let's
just
see where we
be,
really land.
that may just be the way the registry collects that data. I can go back to those. There's only 3 records that had between 5 and 2,000 mLs. So I can look at those and see if they had exact amounts that were documented. But I think that some of the biggest problems are the data fields in the EMRs and the pre-hospital EMRs. There's, narrative, and then there's actual drop-down click fields. So drop-down click fields are easy to pull data from, but the narrative fields are difficult to, mine that information out of unless you manually read it and then collect it separately. And I think that's just a flaw in the EMR that hasn't really shown its ugly head because people aren't really, running that many reports. I mean, especially in New York State.
So let's let the docs go, because they've got places to be, and they don't care about our click fields. They care about the end point of this discussion, I think. But I think that's a good discussion for the REMAC to kick around for a couple of minutes anyway. And unless anybody has anything else, let's have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion second.
Thanks, everybody. See you next time.